Hi there, welcome to the video, welcome back if you're a return viewer. I'm Kerry and you're watching the Christchurch Review of Books. Today, the latest entry in a very long running series. This is A Conventional Boy by Charles Stross. And this is a shorter novella sized entry in the series which started way back in 2004 with the Atrocity Archives. And the Atrocity Archive was the first book in the series which has become to be known as the Laundry Files. And the Laundry Files kind of chronicles the adventures and misadventures of a secret UK government agency which is known as the Laundry, which defends the realm and the planet maybe against kind of esoteric ancient terrors from beyond other dimensions, which are increasingly being summoned by magic. And magic in the world of the library files is an advanced form of mathematics, and the proliferation of computing devices which obviously use mathematics to a great deal in the modern world has made the boundary between dimensions and other realms thin to the point of breaking, and these ancient horrors are leaking into our world in an increasing amount. And of course, in probably not much of a spoiler, in later books in the Laundry Files series, the actual UK defenders against this thing have lost, and there is a evil entity has installed itself as the ruler of Britain. And yeah, that is pretty much where the Laundry Files have left us as far as the contemporary books. But Stross is going back in the timeline and filling in gaps, and strangely enough, these shorter books that he's been writing earlier in the sequence are actually, in my opinion, better than his later full-size books. His most recent full-length books are the New Management series, which is kind of a side series talking about things under the new management, which is like the evil entity controlling Britain has basically taken over things, and things have changed, of course. And the New Management series, which started with Dead Lies Dreaming, I had to think about that, a more of a kind of cartoony, heightened, exaggerated type of thing. And there's a little bit in this book which may explain it. I'll get onto that shortly. And anyway, this book, Conventional Boy, and the previous one, similar interstitial as Stross calls it, filling in gaps type novel, was Escape from Yokai Land, which actually involved the original hero of the series, Mr. Bob Howard. Stross wrote Howard into a corner essentially about 5 or 6 books into the main series. He became too powerful, too all-knowing, too efficient, that he really didn't make a good main character anymore. And since then, Stross has been using other characters, other viewpoints to tell his story of the Laundry Files, and I think that has been less than successful. I enjoyed the Bob Howard character. I could relate to him. He was a geeky nerd in an office work type of situation, and all the indignities that brought, and at the same time he had to fight interdimensional terrors. And now that was the hook that got me into the series, and I found the later main series books really lost that kind of feeling, as we were supposed to care about various minor characters and people he'd brought in just for the occasion. And yeah, and I was a little disappointed with the New Management series, the last 3 full-length books that Stross wrote. They are a sub-series, and I guess they're not essential to the new stories, but they were so fluff, so much fluff, so much cartoony type of thing that I could see what he's trying to do. He's trying to make literary allusions of things like Peter Pan and all that type of thing, but they really didn't work for me in the way that the earlier books in the series did. So anyway, I'm glad to say that A Conventional Boy is quite a return to form. If it's not essential, it is very entertaining, and I guess the bad thing is, unless you are a fan of the series, I really don't think there's much in this one for the average reader. Maybe a story about a fish out of water type thing may appeal to you, but there's all the little Easter eggs, as we might call them these days, or little bits and appearances from other characters from other books in the series, which kind of make this one kind of magical. And anyway, so what's this about? It is about Derek, who was a young man, or young boy in his early teens in the 1980s, when some type of satanic panic occurred in the UK based on the one that was occurring in the United States, and people who played role-playing games such as Dungeons and Dragons were rounded up and arrested for consorting with satanic entities or something. And of course, most of the people arrested in this way were found to be innocent. The laundry basically looked and saw they were just playing games, but Derek, for some reason, got himself stuck in the system. And as we meet him in this story in the early 2010s, I think it's about 2010, 2011 or something when this book starts, he is interned in essentially a prison camp in the UK countryside called Camp Sunshine. I think it's been mentioned earlier in the series. And this is where the laundry has basically incarcerated various members of cults and evil religions and magic users that they've uncovered, and they can't really kill them, so they've got to keep them somewhere, and this is Camp Sunshine. And it's kind of a dreary day-by-day kind of existence, and Derek, who is now a man in his 30s or early 40s, sorry, I'm a little hazy on the age, he kind of ekes out an existence in this camp, a kind of day-to-day routine, and he's got the privilege of writing the camp newsletter, which also gives him the privilege of accessing the local newspapers for the area that the camp is located in, albeit heavily censored so he doesn't get any ideas. Now, exactly why the authorities are keeping Derek in this camp after all these years is not really revealed. It just seems to be a little bumbling bureaucracy who has caused this problem, and they don't want to admit that they've incarcerated someone on false grounds for the last 30 odd years. So Derek has adjusted to his existence, and he is kind of secretly gaining power. He's followed the other inmates who do have esoteric powers, and he's got a kind of a magic set of gaming dice like D20s and what have you, which sort of offer him prophetic thoughts and insights about the future. Now this comes into it a little later. Anyway, the thing that leads Derek to wanting to change things is that the camp is about to be torn down and rebuilt. Apparently it doesn't suit modern conditions for the laundry, and he and the other inmates are going to be relocated somewhere in the meantime and then moved back to the camp. Now Derek is also hasn't given up his love of role-playing games since he was arrested, and he's playing a play-by-mail role-playing game with a group of subscribers across the country, and this has given him a love of role-playing games, of course. And he reads in one of the local newspapers that there was a gaming convention going on in one of the nearby or not so nearby towns. And he gets it into his head, he really wants to go there. He has had no social life, no real existence with other people, and this is something he really wants to do. So using his skills, he basically forges a pass to let him out of the camp, makes an escape, and makes his way via public transport essentially to the town where this gaming convention takes place. I wish I could tell you the name of the town, but it slipped my mind. It's been 3 weeks since I read this book. Anyway, from there on, it's a very fish out of water story. Derek tries, who's been an inmate in an institution for 30 odd years, basically has to try to survive out in the world, which he knows nothing about. Computers and the internet weren't allowed in the camp, so he's missed all that. He only has cash, and it's kind of his misadventures trying to navigate the real world, which is kind of charming. Stross has a lot of humour and affection for Derek. I think just as a fish out of water story, it works really well, but of course there's more to come. He gets to the gaming convention, makes friends with an attractive woman there that he has certain feelings for, which he doesn't quite understand because he's been away from all that for years, and finds out that there are fans of his play-by-mail game who are actually attending this convention, and the young lady he meets offers him, says he should do a live session playing the game. And so he navigates this weird world that he's not familiar with. There's things like hotels and buying food and drink and alcohol, all that type of thing. He gets all these new experiences. Then he discovers that basically at this convention there is a certain supposed role-playing game which seems to have high production values and lots of scantily clad women trying to promote it to people. And well, I won't ruin it completely, but basically it is a front for an actual cult, an actual esoteric cult which is backed by ancient entities which is trying to sucking people, basically the type of enemy that the Laundry has been fighting against. And so Derek plays a live role-playing version of his play-by-mail game, and that's where this kind of meta thing I thought was coming into it, because Derek basically explains the stories that he's been running in his game, and they are pretty much the new management stories from Stross's earlier books. And that's where I thought, Stross is retconning the new management's books as being somebody's imagination, something that Derek made up, and which actually appealed to me because I thought those books kind of stuck out from the rest of the Laundry File books. And if they were a story in world or something, yeah, that would have worked. But then he kind of backs away from that, and we find that Derek has also predicted a lot of the developments in the other Laundry Files universe. So it's pretty sure that Derek just uses his magic dice to predict the future, whatever it is. So I was a little disappointed. It could have been a good out for Stross, but anyway, the latter section of the book is basically people at this convention again sucked into this cult, and Derek and his companions basically try to take part in this kind of live role-playing thing that the cult is promoting. And it turns out they were actually transported through a portal into an environment where they have to use their skills at role-playing games to actually survive and not be killed in a actual live-action role-playing dungeon crawl type thing, which seems to be modelled on an actual game module that they all know about, which kind of involves ancient Central American, Mexican gods and cults and killers and monsters and traps and all that type of thing. And so it's up to Derek and his friends to negotiate this and get to the other end without being killed. And in the meantime, the Laundry has been alerted to Derek that escape from the Camp Sunshine, and they send special forces and some characters that may be recognisable from earlier books to this convention once they track down where he's gone, and they basically end up confronting the evil cult at the same time that Derek and his friends are trying to survive and get through this maze of death. And yeah, it's all very entertaining, and it all ends in a big confrontation, as you can imagine. I really enjoyed it. Like I said, it's one for the Laundry Files fans. It was kind of little nuggets of stuff that you'd recognise from earlier books, and some characters that from earlier books, and the whole setup with the evil cult and whatever, very reminiscent of the type of thing the Laundry was fighting against in the earlier books. And it's just a lot of fun, a lot of enjoyment. A Conventional Boy by Charles Stross. I recommend it. Like I said, if you weren't familiar with this series, it may be a bit of a cold thing for you to try and get into, but as a fish out of water story, it's a lot of fun. It's a very affectionate look at role-playing games and the type of people who play them and enjoy them. Stross obviously has a lot of affection and love for that type of thing. So anyway, that's the review. It is A Conventional Boy by Charles Stross. The copy I have also contains 2 earlier short stories in the Laundry universe, which has got some connected characters. They're not directly connected with the new story. It's just there to bulk up this book, because the actual Conventional Boy story is quite short. You could probably read it in one sitting. I did it in about 2. Distracted as always, I couldn't concentrate on it too long, but yeah, one for the fans, I think. So that is A Conventional Boy by Charles Stross. Okay, that's all for today. I think we'll be back very shortly with another review. Until then, I'll catch you later. Cheers.